All right, let's be honest, the global economy is about as stable as a drunk giraffe on roller skates. One wrong step and it's all going to end in a spectacular, messy disaster. And right now, America, you are looking particularly unsteady on your feet. We all know a US recession is looming, and it's not just Americans who should be worried. The ripple effects of that economic belly flop are going to be felt all over the world. There are countries out there right now teetering on the edge of economic oblivion. But what happens when the supposed land of opportunity becomes the land of oops, we did it again? Well, my friends, that's what we're going to delve into today. We're talking about 10 countries that are one American sneeze away from complete economic meltdown. So buckle up, grab a stiff drink, and maybe call your financial advisor because things are about to get real. First up, we have Venezuela. Now, Venezuela is already a bit like that friend who shows up to a party already completely trashed. They're barely holding it together, and everyone's kind of nervously watching, waiting for them to either rally or faceplant spectacularly into the guacamole. For years, Venezuela has been grappling with hyperinflation, food shortages, political instability. You name it, they've probably got a surplus of it. Their economy is about as stable as a Jenga tower built by a caffeinated squirrel. See, Venezuela relies heavily on oil exports. And guess who's one of their biggest customers? You guessed it, the good old US of A. Reduced demand for oil means less money for Venezuela, which means even more chaos and instability. It's a vicious cycle, and a US recession could very well be the push that sends Venezuela tumbling headfirst into the abyss. Next up, let's waltz our way down to Argentina, a country that's no stranger to economic turmoil. They've tangoed with debt, they've waltzed with inflation, and they've even had a passionate fling with currency devaluation. Basically, they've seen it all, which is honestly more depressing than impressive. Right now, Argentina is in the midst of another debt crisis. They're struggling to pay back their loans, and their economy is about as predictable as a llama on a sugar rush. And you know what they don't need right now? A US recession. A stronger US dollar makes it even harder for Argentina to pay back its debts, many of which are in, you guessed it, US dollars. It's like trying to outrun a cheetah while carrying a refrigerator on your back. A US recession could easily push Argentina back into the depths of economic despair, and this time it might be even harder to recover. Now, let's hop over to Turkey, a country that's been experiencing inflation rates that would make even Weimar Germany blush. Seriously, their currency is depreciating faster than a Kardashian marriage. The Turkish lira has been on a wild roller coaster ride, and unfortunately for the Turkish people, it's a ride that only seems to go down. This rampant inflation is making it incredibly difficult for ordinary Turks to afford basic necessities, and it's putting a serious strain on the economy. A US recession would likely lead to a further decline in the Turkish lira, making imports even more expensive and exacerbating the already dire inflation problem. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. A US recession could send Turkey's economy into a tailspin, leaving its citizens struggling to stay afloat. Chapter 4. South Africa, a rainbow nation fading to grey. Moving on to South Africa, a country that's often hailed as a beacon of hope and progress on the African continent. But even the rainbow nation isn't immune to the dark clouds of a potential US recession. South Africa is grappling with a multitude of economic challenges, including high unemployment, poverty, and inequality. It's like they're trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while wearing oven mitts. It's just not going to be easy. South Africa relies heavily on exports, particularly to, you guessed it, the United States. A US recession would likely lead to a decrease in demand for South African goods, which would hurt their economy and potentially worsen their already high unemployment rate. It's a bleak outlook, and a US recession could dim the light of hope that South Africa so desperately needs. Chapter 5. Brazil. From samba to slump, let's shimmy our way over to Brazil, a country known for its vibrant culture, stunning beaches, and unfortunately its somewhat precarious economy. Brazil is the largest economy in Latin America, but it's also one that's heavily reliant on exports, particularly commodities like soybeans and iron ore. And guess who's a major importer of Brazilian commodities? You guessed it, the a US recession would likely lead to a decrease in demand for Brazilian exports, which could hurt their economy and potentially lead to a recession of their own. It's enough to make you want to drown your sorrows in a caipirinha, but even those might be in short supply if the economy tanks. Chapter 6, Mexico, living in the shadow of the giant. Now let's head north to Mexico, a country that's inextricably linked to the United States, for better or for worse. Mexico is a major trading partner with the US and their economies are deeply intertwined, but this close relationship can be a double-edged sword. When the US economy is booming, Mexico benefits, but when the US economy goes bust, Mexico feels the pain. The US recession would likely lead to a decrease in demand for Mexican exports, which would hurt their economy and potentially lead to job losses. And with the current political climate and the whole build a wall debacle, things could get even more complicated for Mexico. It's a precarious situation, and a US recession could make it a whole lot worse. Chapter 7, Italy, a leaning tower of debt. Let's jet over to Europe now, shall we? And where better to start than Italy? A country known for its delicious food, stunning art, and, oh yeah, its massive public debt. Italy's debt-to-GDP ratio is one of the highest in the world, and it's been a source of concern for economists for years. It's like trying to balance a whole stack of pizzas on top of a very wobbly Vespa. It's impressive, but also incredibly risky. A US recession could lead to higher interest rates globally, which would make it even more expensive for Italy to service its debt. This could trigger a financial crisis in Italy, which would have ripple effects throughout the Eurozone and beyond. It's enough to make you want to order an extra-large pizza and hope for the best. Chapter 8, Greece, from tragedy to farce and back again. Speaking of financial crises, let's not forget about Greece, a country that's become synonymous with economic turmoil. Greece was hit particularly hard by the 2008 financial crisis, and they've been struggling to recover ever since. It's like they went through a really messy breakup and they're still trying to piece their life back together. A US recession would likely hurt Greece's tourism industry, which is a major source of revenue for the country. It could also lead to renewed concerns about Greece's ability to repay its debts, which could trigger another financial crisis. It's a vicious cycle, and one that Greece is desperate to break free from. Chapter 9, India, a tiger losing its stripes. Now let's head over to Asia, where India, the world's largest democracy, is facing its own set of economic challenges. India has been one of the fastest growing economies in the world in recent years, but a US recession could put a serious dent in their progress. A US recession would likely lead to a decrease in demand for Indian exports, which could hurt their economy and potentially lead to job losses. And with a population of over 1.3 billion people, India can't afford a major economic slowdown. It's a critical time for India, and a US recession could have a significant impact on their future. Chapter 10, Indonesia, Paradise Lost. Finally, let's end our journey in Indonesia, a beautiful archipelago nation that's also Southeast Asia's largest economy. Indonesia is heavily reliant on exports, particularly of raw materials like palm oil and coal. And guess who's a major importer of Indonesian raw materials? You guessed it, the United States. A US recession would likely lead to a decrease in demand for Indonesian exports, which could hurt their economy and potentially lead to job losses. And with a large population and a significant number of people living in poverty, Indonesia can't afford a major economic downturn. It's a delicate balancing act, and a US recession could tip the scales in the wrong direction. Outro, the world on a wire. So there you have it, 10 countries that are walking an economic tightrope. And a US recession could be the gust of wind that sends them tumbling down. It's a sobering thought, and one that should give us all pause. The global economy is interconnected, and what happens in one part of the world inevitably affects us all. We can't ignore the plight of these countries because their struggles could easily become our own. If you found this video even remotely informative or terrifying, or maybe even a little bit funny in a morbid sort of way, please consider subscribing to my channel. And hey, if you're feeling generous, click that like button and leave a comment below. Stay informed, stay engaged, and for heaven's sake, stay solvent.